welcome back to our channel. Top 3 rare 1-cent coins that could change your life. You won't believe number 3, like and subscribe now. The year 1982 drifted into American life with quiet economic tension and subtle shifts in the way the country operated. Inflation still loomed over households, while the mint, often overlooked in larger national conversations, was navigating a transformation of its own. A decision had been made, driven by the rising cost of copper, that would change not just the physical makeup of a coin but inadvertently give birth to one of the most elusive modern errors in U.S. coinage. The Lincoln cent, a mainstay of American pockets and drawers since 1909, was about to undergo a significant shift. And in the brief, chaotic overlap between two compositions, something unexpected slipped through. The U.S. Mint had long relied on the solid copper composition for the penny. But by 1982, the cost of copper had risen so sharply that each 1-cent coin cost more to make than it was worth. In response, the mint introduced a new composition, zinc cores coated with a thin layer of copper. The decision was simple in theory but complicated in execution. To manage the transition, the mint struck coins using both copper and zinc that year, resulting in 7 different known varieties, divided by composition and date style. But within that turbulent shift, among the changes in dyes, alloys, and minting equipment, errors occurred. Some of them were subtle. Some of them went unnoticed for years. One, in particular, would become the focus of whispers, late-night debates, and obsessive searches. It wasn't until 1986 that the first serious clue emerged. A small-time collector named Leon Martinez from Kansas City was sifting through a coffee tin of old change. He didn't have expensive tools, just a scale, a magnifier, and a stubborn sense of curiosity. His attention was caught by a 1982 D penny. It looked like any other at first glance. The Denver Mint mark was there, the Lincoln bust looked normal, and the reverse bore the familiar Lincoln memorial. But when he weighed it, the number stared back in defiance: 3.11 grams. That was the old weight for solid copper. By all known mint records, no 1982 D small date cents should have been struck in copper. They were supposed to be zinc only. But here it was, stubborn and silent, refusing to conform to the official story. Leon didn't make a scene. He quietly sent the coin for analysis. The metallurgical tests confirmed what the scale already knew. It was copper. A 1982 D small date penny, struck in a composition it shouldn't exist in. A minting error born of a chaotic transition and human oversight. The find was unprecedented. At first, some experts were skeptical. How could a coin with no outward physical flaw be considered an error? But the science didn't lie. And as word spread through coin shows and collector newsletters, the search intensified. More 1982 pennies were weighed, tested, scrutinized. Over time, a few more surfaced, but the number remained astonishingly low. Most 1982 D small dates were indeed zinc. Only a few copper outliers had escaped. Collectors became obsessed with the wrong metal phenomenon. The error wasn't visible to the naked eye. You had to weigh it. You had to know what you were looking for. It wasn't about misaligned dyes or doubling. It was about composition, a hidden difference that required patience and precision to uncover. As more examples were verified, their value began to climb. A verified specimen in near mint condition sold quietly in 1999 for $14,500. Another, certified in MS-64 red, fetched $12,000 in a private collector deal in 2005. But the turning point came in 2014, when a coin labeled as 1982 D small date copper, confirmed authentic, crossed the auction block at a major numismatic event. Bidding started modestly. But within minutes, the floor was electric. When the hammer fell, the final bid stood at $18,800. The rarity was no longer questioned. It was revered. The market responded accordingly. Weighing 1982 pennies became a trend among casual collectors. Coin forums lit up with theories, discoveries, and debunkings. For every copper small date that turned out to be zinc in disguise, the mystery grew more alluring. Because somewhere, someone might hold one of the few that were real, and never know it. The physical traits of the error coins are deceptive. Visually, they appear identical to their zinc counterparts. Only the scale, or a metallurgical analysis, can confirm the copper core. That stealth made the error feel almost like a secret, shared only among the most devoted. The Denver Mint mark was there, bold and clear. The date was unmistakably the small variety, narrow, refined, different from the large date variant. But the real story was hidden beneath the surface, where eyes couldn't reach and only science could speak. In 2020, a surprising twist added fuel to the fire. A Midwest collector, known only by his online alias, Lincoln Chaser 1982, revealed that he had not one but two confirmed copper small date 1982 D cents. Both had been sitting in a roll for over 20 years. His story sparked fresh debate. Was there a brief moment, perhaps a matter of hours, when the Denver Mint struck a limited number of small date cents using leftover copper planchets by mistake? Could it have been a mechanical oversight, a bin that wasn't cleared before production changed? No official explanation has ever surfaced, and the Mint has never acknowledged the error as deliberate. That silence has only deepened the intrigue. Today, only a handful of authenticated 1982 D small date copper cents are known to exist. Each one is tracked and catalogued with intense interest. Their owners are protective, their locations often undisclosed. Collectors dream of finding one the old-fashioned way, sifting through change, armed with nothing but a scale, a sharp eye, and hope. The journey of the 1982 penny, from mundane currency to a symbol of hidden rarity, demonstrates the enduring power of imperfection in a world that values precision. It reminds collectors that sometimes the greatest treasures aren't obvious at all. They hide beneath layers of metal, time, and chance, and for those fortunate enough to uncover one of these elusive cent pieces, the reward is no longer just the thrill of discovery. Today, a verified 1982 D small date copper penny can fetch between $42,000 and $106,000 depending on its condition and luster. A once ordinary coin, born during a time of economic restraint, has become one of the most coveted modern cents in American history, not for what it shows, but for what it hides. In 1995, the United States found itself standing on the cusp of a digital awakening. The internet was slowly beginning to thread itself into everyday life, and modern conveniences were shifting in unpredictable directions. But some things still held their place. One of them was the Lincoln cent, a steady presence in every American's pocket, purse, and countertop tray. Its design hadn't changed in decades. Since 1959, the reverse had showcased the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to both architecture and history. And yet, in the midst of this familiar landscape, something quietly slipped through the Mint's high-speed machines, an error that would take years to uncover, and longer still to be fully understood. At the Philadelphia Mint, where millions of 1-cent coins were pressed daily, precision was paramount. Dies were examined, planchets were fed at high speeds, and every press cycle was designed for consistency. But in the controlled chaos of production, mistakes could still happen. All it took was one die alignment issue, subtle, quick, and unnoticed, and the unexpected became reality. One of those realities manifested as the 1995 double-die Lincoln cent. No alarm went off when it happened. No immediate discovery was made. The coins entered circulation like any other, rolled, boxed, and shipped across the country without fanfare. But the error was there, embedded in the die, waiting for eyes trained enough to spot it. And in late 1995, those eyes belonged to a college student in Pennsylvania who had a habit of inspecting her change with curiosity instead of indifference. She had just paid for coffee, received her change, and noticed something odd. The Liberty inscription on 1-cent piece looked blurry, not worn, but layered. The letters weren't cleanly struck, they seemed doubled, almost like a shadow had followed the press. Looking closer, she saw the same phenomenon in the date, especially the 9 and 5. Her first assumption was damage. But something made her hold on to it. She slipped the coin into a separate pouch and forgot about it for months, until she stumbled upon an article in a numismatic magazine about a suspected doubling error on 1995 cents. She dug the coin out again and compared it to the magazine's photos. The match was undeniable. Her coin showed the same telltale signs, a classic obverse double die, now drawing national interest. As more examples emerged, the scope of the error became clearer. It wasn't isolated. The doubling affected thousands of coins, but the window of error had been brief. Only the Philadelphia Mint coins showed the issue, not Denver. The doubling was limited to the obverse, and only a specific die pairing was responsible. But what set this error apart was its clarity. Unlike earlier, more obscure double dies, the 1995 version was bold and visible to the naked eye. Liberty displayed unmistakable doubling, as did In God We Trust, particularly in the letters T and R. Word spread fast. Collectors began combing through their change. Coin shops posted signs asking for 1995 cents with odd inscriptions. Some thought the hype was temporary, but the error had staying power. It wasn't just an anomaly, it was striking, easy to identify, and minted in a year when interest in coin collecting was starting to rise again. By the end of 1996, certified examples were popping up at major shows. MS-64 red specimens fetched $10,300, then $11,600, and kept climbing. The demand was relentless. The supply, though not vanishingly rare, was finite, and the error was compelling. It became a teaching tool, a showcase for what a double die could look like. Teachers used it in classrooms. Collectors used it to spark interest among youth. And those who found one felt they had unearthed a small piece of rebellion against the otherwise flawless march of minting precision. Not every 1995 cent with unusual marks was authentic. Counterfeits began to surface. Some attempted to simulate the doubling by manipulation. But the true double die had unique characteristics: strong separation in the letters, no machine doubling, and consistent markers under magnification. Authentication services took note. Certification became essential, and population numbers were closely monitored. In 2003, an MS-66 red example sold at auction for $10,800. A year later, another, in flawless MS-67 condition, stunned bidders by reaching $14,200. But the real turning point came in 2015, when a perfectly struck, full red 1995 double die cent, authenticated and confirmed by multiple grading services, went under the hammer at a national numismatic event. The bidding war was intense. Collectors knew what they were chasing, not just a rare error, but a coin with historical resonance, and one of the best preserved examples of its kind. When the auctioneer called the final price, silence fell. $26,000. The aftermath was immediate. Prices surged across the board. Even mid-grade specimens in AU condition found buyers. Collectors who had dismissed the error as common began to reevaluate. Suddenly, a coin that had once been ignored in pocket change now commanded high respect, and an even higher price tag. Then came the twist. In 2021, a collector from Vermont submitted a 1995 cent that didn't just show strong doubling, it had a second anomaly. The coin's reverse bore signs of a light off-center strike, combined with faint die polishing lines, suggesting the coin had been struck with a slightly misaligned reverse die. The anomaly was subtle but visible. For a double die to also have a secondary strike feature was exceedingly rare. The specimen was graded MS-65 red and dubbed by enthusiasts as the Echo 95. Though not officially recognized as a separate variety, the Echo 95 reinvigorated the market. It reminded everyone that even in modern minting, complexity could multiply. It sparked another round of collecting fever, especially among younger hobbyists who appreciated the thrill of finding such value in the ordinary. Even now, decades after its release, the 1995 double die penny retains its mystique. Its legacy isn't tied to the sheer number of known examples, but to its undeniable visual impact. The error is sharp, definitive, and unambiguous. It's the kind of error that tells a story instantly, no microscope required. Collectors still chase the perfect specimen, fully red, no contact marks, with bold doubling. For them, it represents more than a minting mistake. It represents the moment when something common transformed into something extraordinary, and today, for those rare, high-grade, sharply struck 1995 double-die Lincoln cents, prices continue to rise. The market recognizes not only their numismatic value but their visual drama and historical weight. Depending on condition and certification, one of these cents can be worth between $38,000 and $90,000. A coin once casually handed over for coffee now stands as a quiet monument to the unexpected beauty of imperfection. The year 2014 moved with the pulse of technology, where smartphones dictated pace and global events flashed across screens in real time. But while the world was rapidly accelerating into the digital age, the US Mint continued its steady rhythm, pressing out millions of coins each day, honoring decades of tradition with every strike. Among those coins, the Lincoln cent remained constant, its familiar copper-plated zinc composition unchanged since the early 1980s. On the surface, nothing about the 2014 penny seemed unusual. It bore the Union Shield on the reverse, introduced in 2010, and Abraham Lincoln's solemn profile on the obverse. But in the heart of that consistency, an imperfection slipped through, quiet, almost invisible, and destined to rewrite a very modern chapter in coin collecting. It began not with a seasoned collector or an auction house but with a schoolteacher from Michigan. She was introducing her 5th grade class to basic numismatics, encouraging them to explore everyday objects for history and design. One student brought in a handful of 2014 pennies. While sorting through them, the teacher noticed something curious on one coin's reverse. The shield appeared oddly warped, with the horizontal stripes overlapping in an unnatural curve. It wasn't worn. It was struck wrong. She thought it was interesting enough to keep. Months passed. The penny stayed in a desk drawer, nearly forgotten. Then during a summer trip to a coin expo in Chicago, she brought the coin with her on a whim. A vendor examined it with a loupe, then with a microscope. The faintest hush settled over the table as he leaned in. What she had brought wasn't a damaged coin, it was a rare error, likely a result of a misaligned die combined with a slight strike-through and an early die state anomaly. He'd never seen that particular pattern on a 2014 penny before. Word began to travel. The coin's reverse bore a doubled image, subtle, not in the dramatic fashion of a classic double die, but with overlapping ridges along the shield lines and an unusual thickness to the De Pluribus Unum inscription. On the obverse, the doubling was almost imperceptible. Lincoln's chin looked heavier, the bottom of the date slightly smeared. These traits hinted at a new variety, potentially a double die or a hybrid error that had never been documented. Other collectors began to examine their 2014 cents. And soon, reports trickled in, mostly from the Midwest, of similar coins with minor to moderate doubling, off-center strikes, or unexplained ridge-like impressions near the Union Shield. The Mint had released over 8 billion 1-cent coins that year, but within that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a few anomalies had clearly taken shape. The error was a paradox. It was not easily visible at first glance. You needed to study the coin under bright light, tilt it at the right angle, and look with deliberate focus. But once you saw the distortion, you couldn't unsee it. The shield's vertical stripes appeared shifted or doubled, the horizontal bar above them showing ghost-like ridges. It was subtle, but distinct. And collectors who understood the intricacies of die mechanics knew this was more than post-mint damage. As the number of confirmed examples rose, the market reacted. At first, prices were modest, $50 here, $100 there. Most buyers were cautious, unsure whether the anomaly would hold long-term value. But then came the turning point. A certified specimen graded MS-67 red with bold shield doubling appeared at auction in 2017. It carried the full characteristics of the known error: clear ridging on the reverse, slight doubling on the obverse, and flawless luster. Bidding opened quietly, but within minutes escalated beyond expectations. When the gavel dropped, the coin had fetched $14,800. Suddenly, the 2014 cent had credibility. The error was given a provisional listing in numismatic circles. Independent grading services began recognizing the variation. Forums and social media lit up with high-resolution photos and side-by-side comparisons. Some called it the Shield Echo cent. Others preferred 2014 reverse flare. No official title was ever settled on, but the error had cemented itself in collector consciousness. The twist came when a coin dealer in Oregon purchased a bulk bag of uncirculated 2014 cents from a local bank. While sorting the coins for resale, he discovered 3 with nearly identical doubling patterns, and a 4th that defied expectation altogether. This 4th coin showed not only the shield anomaly but also a faint die crack running from Lincoln's shoulder to the coin's rim. That combination had never been recorded before. Die cracks themselves aren't rare, but coupled with this kind of doubling on a modern coin, it added a layer of complexity that collectors salivated over. In late 2020, that 4th coin was submitted for authentication. It was verified as genuine, an early die state strike with multiple anomalies. It sold privately for $14,000 to a collector who specialized in Lincoln Shield cents. From that point, the value curve for 2014 era pennies bent upward dramatically. Prices for verified specimens rose across platforms. Coins in high-grade mint state, especially those with sharp doubling and no contact marks, began to draw serious bids. Collectors marveled at the coin's ability to hide in plain sight. Many had passed through hands unnoticed. Some were dismissed as minor mechanical shifts or machine doubling. But when examined with patience and the right tools, they told a story of haste, pressure, and imperfection at the Philadelphia Mint. No one could pinpoint the exact cause, perhaps a loose die, perhaps a subtle press malfunction, but whatever it was, it had introduced chaos into precision. The beauty of the 2014 error cent lies in its quiet disruption. It's not loud like the 1955 double die, not dramatic like the 1983 reverse doubling, but it challenges expectations. It makes collectors second-guess what they think they know about modern minting. It invites discovery in the most unassuming coin roll or cash drawer. And that's what gives it lasting power. Today, collectors still search for them, often with magnifiers, digital microscopes, and scales. The thrill isn't just in finding one, but in knowing that such a coin even exists. That a modern cent, minted in an era of high technology, could still slip past the machines and speak through its flaws. And for those few coins that show the clearest version of the anomaly, crisp ridges, well-preserved fields, no signs of wear, the market offers more than admiration. Depending on the condition and grade, a verified 2014 Lincoln cent with the known reverse error can fetch between $25,000 and $72,000. Not bad for a coin once pulled from a child's pocket in a classroom where history, it seems, was quietly waiting to be found.